Who knows what's going to happen next? We might fly people outside the country for a food tour or something.
I think there could easily be other cities on the radar for sure.
Yeah.
Have the cultural encounters bus.
And take this on the road.
Take it to 40 all the way to California.
There you go. I am Amma Gatty. I am the founder and executive director of Culture Encounters. And recently, I had the opportunity to sit with a really good friend of mine, Alex Trivas, who is a longtime volunteer with us and also helped us curate the whole program, Eat Talk Connect, and also Eat Talk Right. And Alex, actually, his family has a family foundation that supports nonprofits that do work within the culture space, educational space, and health space. And I had the privilege to have this conversation with this dear friend of mine. And I am so excited to share that conversation with you. Enjoy. Okay. So what I find interesting that people don't know about is that I actually met you through your mother. And your mother, an amazing woman, so generous, has supported us a little over 5 years now, actually. And it's interesting because she introduced me to you and thought we would work really well together. Since then, your family foundation has just been a great supporter of our work. What people don't know is that you all fund Eat Talk Right, especially the tours that we do with the kids, and all the things that we've done with them over the years was through your generosity. So why is it important for you, Alex, and not just you, but your family, to not just throw money at stuff, but to get your hands dirty whilst doing it?
We take a real intentional approach. It's a small foundation that centers on educational and health-related nonprofits. And when you and I met and I talked to my mom, I was just so jazzed up to find that synergy and just to take what I had in the past through teaching and connecting with kids and writing and words, and I'd always taught food reviews anyway as well, to really think wow, this is something that I can really participate in. And not just financially give and just move on. I think for multiple reasons. One, that I was used to, and it was a way for me to stay involved, albeit not in the classroom as a head teacher, but still be able to interact with kids and adults, sort of creating curriculum, right? And also creating experiences, cultural experiences, and which part two, it's just a ton of fun. And I think it's a lot more exciting to have fun and grow as both a person and also as a potential leader than just write a check and be done. And three, I think connections to others, whether it's befriend or bringing in my brother-in-law's chocolate company for a talk on West African chocolate and as well as music that night and food. That I can sit down with you and help create and enhance experiences.
And that's amazing because, and I really I wish a lot of philanthropists would do that, right? It's getting your hands dirty because it is a partnership, right? It's not just writing the dollars and we just going our way to do the work and reporting back. It's let's do it together. Let's do social good together, And I think that it takes us into a whole realm of being effective and more intentional about what
intention is the key, and it winds up really allowing it to grow.
Absolutely.
In an organic, really fresh way.
Exactly, and it's talking about intentionality. We talked about how we started with Eat Talk Right, but what was interesting was about how when Eat Talk Right took off, at least after the first year, we had parents who were reaching out saying, my son or daughter had an amazing time.
They wanted in.
Right. And then they wanted an in. They wanted to be a part of it. And through that, we talked about Eat Talk Right for adults, but then the version of that was more to take one restaurant at a time, go to that restaurant, meet the chef, learn their story, learn about the culture, why they're here, why they migrated to America, and also then connect deeply over food. And it's interesting because we're calling it Eat Talk Right for both. And quickly we learned, okay, we have to switch the name because some people did not want to write. And the name is Eat Talk Right. You eat, you talk, you write. And now it's evolved the adult version into Eat Talk Connect.
Still poetic sounding.
We're great, right? We name things well. But it's the idea that now you can eat you can talk about what you're eating and culture and cultural appreciation and all the conversation prompts that we give them. And now you can connect deeply with a culture that is different from your own. And I think that connection piece matters, right? And so the idea that you learn about a culture through food, and food being the platform through which we're making these connections. What are your thoughts on that?
No, I mean, 100%. I think also one of the reasons that a lot of these parents were super excited about doing it themselves are they saw these experiences as ways for themselves to grow. And also to get new recipes they wanted, or different cuisines they might want to bring back to their own house. As well as their kids had a great time. They're like, look, this has real value. This has value to growing, in our community, to just getting out of, again, our maybe our little neighborhood or a bubble, or whatever it is. And that coupled with your really amazing prompts that really allow people, they're not just icebreakers, they really ask people to really just reflect and engage. And to this day, because of some of those events, I'm still connected with a few people that I honestly probably would have not crossed paths with had it not been for this event. So again, this transcends, just the food on the plate to that whole experience. And I think that also, I think you were mentioning it before, that some of the adults get a real authentic experience with hearing the chefs and the food, often opposite of what they might have had sort of preconceived notions.
The stereotypes and all of that,
from film and TV or whatever.
Yeah, because if you are in a place where all you know, let's say about Ghana or Africa, is that, oh, that continent is so poor and they have nothing and whatever, right? And then now you're meeting Ghanaians and you're eating their food and you're connecting with them, you realize, oh, so what I see on TV is not necessarily the truth because the people are in front of me, right? And I think that for me and for the work that we do at Culture Encounters, it is important that there is that element of storytelling in everything we do, be it over dinner or if it's not panel discussions or whatever we do, that element of hearing firsthand stories from the people who are engaged in, the work they do culturally is amplified.
Yeah, when you hear all those stories, it avoids that a single narrative of a place or people or religion, whatever it is. You hear there's different ways in and different techniques and different histories and family histories, and it can be really beautiful. And also let's not forget the technique, right? That you do see some really interesting creative ways of culinary expertise, which is just on its face just really exciting.
It's exciting, and also the way you eat, right? And so talking about the interesting experiences, like the Ghana dinner we did, we wanted to be as authentically Ghanaian as possible because I'm from Ghana, so I was a little biased about that. And I made sure everyone ate in a calabash bowl, right? And we had everyone eat with their fingers for those who were comfortable. But then we also show them hand washing techniques and why you should eat with your right hand versus your left hand. And people were shocked that in our culture and other cultures, the left hand is considered the dirty hand. And so, you could hear people say, oh, we only have to wash the right hand and not the left hand because we're going to eat with the right hand. And I love it. I love that people jumped in and wanted to do it, and I was looking at people cringing because you don't hold the food that way, but they were eating with their fingers, right? And I think that leaves a lasting impression for them to go out into the community, meet someone from Ghana and say, hey, I had this Ghanaian dish, it was amazing, or I got to eat with my fingers just the way you guys do back home, and that bridge building, I think it's so important. It's so important also because we live in a global world now, and whether we like it or not, we have to live, work, and play with people from different cultures,
I think when we've done the Eat Talk right with the kids and they see food that to their eyes looks like nothing they've ever seen, and they have a little bit of a hesitation, or you can see it in their eyes or their nose, a little bit of restraint, and then they take that sort of dive in, that risk, and then the delight that sweeps across their face when they realize wow, this is really yummy, and wow, this took a lot of artistry to create. I think about the mantu, I think about the actual rose looking dish. I think about even some of the drinks at the patio and some different truly different flavor profiles. I like to we talk, kids always like to say, my mind exploded, right, and so forth. But the same with their palate, right?
It did.
On a literal level, I really like to be in there and I see these kids drink something, or that dessert drink, was it a mango? What's it, the mango lassi?
Yes, it was a mango lassi,
And then some of the interesting teas that we've done in the Vietnamese restaurant, and they're like, wow, I've never actually had tea with a meal.
Yeah.
I think just seeing that
Yeah.
complete newness and seeing what it does,
Yeah.
on their face
Yeah.
is really delightful.
Yeah, it's
Um,
interesting. Sorry to cut you in, but it was interesting when we went to the Indian restaurant last year, and they brought out this array of food.
a lot
And
of food.
you remember that? And
Yeah.
there was this green paste. I think it was like a stew or something. And I stood there watching kids go, "What in the world is that?" Right? And a few kids, which was okay, didn't want to try. And I remember telling them, 3 bites is
Yeah.
all you need to do. And you don't have to love it,
It's the
right?
equivalent of like, don't judge a book by its cover, right?
Exactly, you know? Yeah.
I mean, I'm sure pizza, if you've never seen it with like sausage and pepperoni
Yeah.
and grease, might not look that appealing if you've never seen it,
That
right?
looks better than Sloppy Joe, though. I'm not
Okay.
sure with you Americans and Sloppy
I
Joe,
don't
I
know who
can't do it.
I don't know who Joe is. Who's Joe? But like, it's
We're
like,
so wrong.
but like, but that's a really I
Yeah.
love that, and
Yeah.
I do really also like when like you see the kids like engage with the chef
Yeah.
afterwards. They shake their hand, might
Yes.
ask a couple
Yeah.
of questions, and
Yeah.
like you really see that just sort of that connection.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know,
And they're polite and respectful. And I love that.
yeah, when we would get to restaurants, so for Lily Pearl, for example, after the manager would speak and introduce the kids to the place, one of the first dishes kind of come out, and it's a short rib egg roll, and that is delicious, and it's got pimento cheese and
Yeah.
collard greens and pickled onions
Yeah.
and a Thai basil dipping sauce. I mean, it's phenomenal.
Yeah.
I would just order that like all day, every day. But like we would ask the kids, because the right part, we were writing.
Right.
And how do you write about food? How do you write like some of the great literary food giants, right? You're going to start with the five senses, and you're going to look at what's at your plate, and you're paying attention to what you see, what you smell, what you hear. Is there something sizzling? Is there something crackling? What is the flavor profile? What else is on your plate? Look around and take a mindful bite. Don't rush it. Really let it sit in your mouth and really enjoy the flavors as the chef wanted it to be, had and enjoyed. And then just take some notes in your journal, because if you're going to write a review later, we want specificity, because great writing is going to involve concrete details, very specific, nouns, and very like just colorful imagery. Not talking in generalities like it's yummy or delicious. Well, that can mean something different to a lot of people. We want to name. We want to name it.
Yeah.
We want to name whether it's saffron or cumin or coriander or cinnamon or different flavors of curry and so forth. We want the kids to really get invested there, and that also allows them to like just really be focused and intentional with like their writing, where they can really use elements of the five senses and different types of diction to really convey in their writing a real, authentic experience that's that would resonate with people, and might even make people want to go. Right. So we sit there and we really just sort of help guide them through that, at least as a framework, a scaffolding. And then we walk around and sort of encourage them to just go a little deeper and really like, and we do more of these restaurant stays, their palate expands and they start recognizing, their vocabulary expands. I know at a couple of the restaurants, he points up to a couple paintings or photos on the wall and talks about those are actually the spices you're eating. And a lot of kids hadn't heard of a few of them, or might not even recognize them.
Or even what they look like.
What they look like in its non sort of powder form, and then that makes you want like you're armed with a culinary vocabulary, so you can go to Publix or Kroger's or Trader Joe's or wherever, and then pick up what you just learned, hopefully, and try and make it yourself.
When we take adults to these dinners, the same behaviors that you see with the kids. For me, I noticed that in adults as well. And it's more so obvious in adults because you see it. No one is touching the food, or they don't, they're hesitant. The biggest one that I noticed was we went to an authentic Chinese restaurant, Chengdu, and so we pick the menu before we bring the adults, right? And we intentionally order fish every time we go. And it comes in this big steno tray heating thing with fire underneath it, and it's blazing hot. And it's fish, whole fish with a head and eyeballs staring at you. And it's interesting because every time it comes out, I take a step back and watch reactions, So there are people in the room going, yes, fish, big fish. And you have the people like, ooh, why eyeballs staring at me, And it's interesting because there's always that one person who tries it first. And then you notice everyone else, just kind of timidly go into it. And then you realize how good it is. But I love the fact that even if people don't like it, they're not disrespectful about it, right? They will try it. And I love that. And I love that. And I know even in our conversation earlier, you had said something about, you tried the Croatian food, you didn't quite like it, but you tried it, right? Which is different from, hey, I'm not going to touch it at all. This is not in my culture, and so I love that these dinners bring people together. Number one, to go to a restaurant where they probably would never go to because they don't understand the things on the menu or they're intimidated by it. I used to be a restaurant owner, so I experienced that firsthand, where people would come to my restaurant and don't know what Ghanaian food is and walk away from my restaurant. And now I can give back to the community because not only are we promoting local business, but we are also exploring these new opportunities for people to support immigrant-owned restaurants. But that's why I like Lily Pearl. That's why I like the idea of going to Lily Pearl, because they call their menu New American. And it's like they have jollof rice on their menu, right? Which is Ghanaian or Nigerian or West African. And I went there with Fred to go eat one night because they had jollof rice on there. It's a Nigerian jollof. Ours is better, but
I'm keeping that in because also to the kids, you said that it doesn't stand up.
No, it really.
ours is better, right? But it was the idea that you can try something new
This
in
is also
America.
giving me an idea though too, that like there would be like ultimately like another level of like an eat talk connect that might be like sort of like the upper level course, which really does like get into like where we might even front load them with articles about like the history of saffron, or why did such like when you're in Amsterdam, when you're in like the Netherlands, you can't help but to like understand the importance of like cod to that the whole growth of that country, but also the growth of the Dutch, the Dutch India Company, which then did all the trade, and then there was actually a book called Cod. It was a great biography just on a fish, right? That could be actually interesting, right?
Just like connecting, more detailed
nuances and in a global world, as we've talked about the whole time, in which cultural and curiosity and cultural intelligence are needed more than ever. I mean, you're doing that work in a very dynamic way that's yielding really fruitful like impact immediately with kids and adults in real tangible like living breathing events and workshops and conversations, experiences for kids and adults. So it's really been a pleasure working with Cultural Encounters, because not only are they open-minded and have a wonderful open mindset to growth and to creating new experiences, but those experiences are very intentionally curated to resonate with the whole community. It's not just like you're going to a school, second school, like you are bridging gaps. You're bringing people from all over Richmond and beyond, frankly, together in meaningful experiences, which are just, also a ton of fun.
Yeah.
And delicious.
And delicious.
Again, I also think that what Cultural Encounters is doing, particularly in partnerships like with Befriend and other groups, are bringing people together for friendship, right? Again, and food is there, and it can, again, as I've said, transcend the food. Because I think what's really important about all this is there are a lot of people right now that are lonely, and there are a lot of people who like it's a great way to like make a new friend.
And people have.
And to really, connect in a relaxed, inviting, enjoyable way with like where it doesn't feel like high stakes or pressure. You're chilling out, having food, maybe a drink, and I think that's a really valuable part. That might not necessarily be under the cultural encounter part, but that's in the encounter part.
Yeah, it is, right? And it's interesting you say that, because 2 of our current board members were recruited on our board because they came to our dinners.
Okay.
Right? So our board president, Sarah, just started off by coming to our dinners 2 years ago, right? And she was just consistent. And finally, I said, "Do you want to be on the board?" And then Susan, who is our board secretary, was the same. She started off coming to dinners, and now she's a board member. So there's a level of engagement too, even from the community. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So talking about eTalk Ride and eTalk Connect, there are people who may otherwise not want to come, right? And it's not because they don't enjoy outings or going out. I think that it's important that people come to events like these because number one, it broadens your horizon. And I said that before when we're talking about how our world has become smaller, either through technology, through immigration, through movement, right? Our world has become smaller. There's actually a research survey that shows that Richmond is becoming increasingly culturally diverse, and immigrants moving into the community, we're moving in at a rate of about 10 to 13% each year. And we're right now, like immigrants are making about 171,000 of the population, right?
Wow.
So our neighbors, our coworkers, the schools we go to, right? We are encountering people from cultures that are different from our own every single day. Through technology, through social media, we're engaging with the world, whether we like it or not. So it is so important that people come to things like these because this is when you get to become more culturally intelligent. It boosts your curiosity about a culture. It makes you relate meaningfully and connect meaningfully with other cultures, right? And it also humanizes culture. And I think that we sometimes miss that element of humanizing culture because these events does help you do away with some of those preconceived notions, about people groups and the stereotypes that we tend to build and the biases that we have. But then if you can come to a place where sitting next to you is someone, an immigrant like myself, and we have authentic conversation over breaking bread over a meal, right? Then those bridges that are being built and being closed up now allows us to go into the community and maybe treat the cashier better or, someone, the waiter at the restaurant better because now we do understand their background and where they're coming from. And so for me, I think people miss out if they miss out on opportunities like these to come and truly, truly engage.
The same would be true for the kids.
Yeah,
If you get
exactly.
them earlier.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
you used a word in there, you said important.
Mhm.
So it's not just that it's a dynamic experience or that you're going
Yeah.
to personally grow from it
Mhm.
or you're going to expand your palate and
Yeah.
expand your cultural
Yeah.
intelligence.
Yeah.
It's also something salient
Mhm.
to have a
Yeah.
part of for
Yeah.
like the betterment of the community.
Exactly.
And
Yeah.
also the way the world's headed. Like
Yeah.
it's almost like
Yeah.
I would say it's like essential to have these type of
It is.
experiences.
It is. And work is, like I know people personally who live in the US and work with teams around the world, right? So let's look at it even from a professional point of view. Not exposing our children and even ourselves into diverse cultures just limits us because we are then not culturally intelligent enough to deal with people from elsewhere. And I think even professionally, it makes us better, in the rooms we go to, the people we engage with. But the truth is, we cannot.
So even for people who
afford.
might not be able
Yeah.
to travel
Travel,
broadly,
yeah.
whether it's through the United States or
Yeah.
even globally,
Yeah.
you can actually get a lot
Yeah.
of that global
Right.
learning and appeal
Right here. Yeah.
locally.
Yeah. Yeah. Right.
Just
Saves your plane ticket.
right. So you can want to
Yeah.
almost inspire people
Yeah.
to come to these
Yeah.
events.
Yeah.
For everything you just said, that it's
Yeah.
going to just be strengthen the community,
Yeah.
and strengthen their own
Yeah.
relationships,
Yeah.
but also just to have the community as a whole
Mhm.
just sort of in light of all the
Yeah.
trends,
Yeah.
like culturally, politically,
Mhm.
as you said, people coming in,
Yeah.
like what Richmond, like what, like
Mhm.
10%,
Yeah.
12%.
Annually.
I mean, it's
Yeah. It's huge.
and it's now it's
Yeah.
like there's like almost an urgency
Yeah.
to really
Yeah.
look at that
Yeah.
information, think we're gonna make the
Mhm. Yeah.
really something special out of all this.
We cannot afford to just sit on the sidelines and not engage.
So you couple all of that sort of with sort of like this mission, and then you
Mhm.
present it in a very
Yeah.
fun,
Yeah. Non-intimidating
colorful,
way. Yeah.
delicious way.
Yeah.
Then it's even more reason
Yeah.
to attract people
Yeah.
who've not been to attending these events.
Exactly. And that's why we do what we do, right? So we offer opportunities for people to engage with culture in a fun, non-intimidating
Experience.
way. An experience. That's it.
Not just handing them a list of bullet points of how to
No.
get along with
No.
other people.
It's like, come eat and we'll tell
Right.
you how to do that. Right?
I mean, it's always neat how we traverse this sort of in everything, whether it's books we read, media we consume, even maybe how we are managing our relationships. The balance between novelty and familiarity, right?
Yeah.
So I went on that kick, and I think when you have that expansive, open mindset, I was like, all right, bring it all on. Bring me Thai, bring me Indonesian, bring me this, bring me that, bring me that. And at the same time, it's important to recognize when certain cuisines or certain foods, and maybe that's why we call them comfort foods in some way, but that you want to keep going to, right?
Yeah.
Because they provide you that comfort and also deliciousness, right? But that balancing that is I think part of the the art of life, and just sort of, and also it allows that enjoyment.
Yeah. Thank you and your family for your generosity, not just in terms of money, but your time and your support for this work, because this work is important, and you guys see that.
No, you're welcome. It's amazing. It's our pleasure. It's like we all grow.
Yeah.
It's a lot of fun.
It is fun. And next week we're doing this again. At the time of this recording, we're a week away from the next eTalk Ride.
That's another thing. We've continued to develop that program.
Yes.
Varying it, like bringing music in, bringing
and doing
art
museums
visits,
now.
museum visits. Just very different types. Some are more sit down. Some are just like quick little dessert places. And we, we tweak, we grow, and that's, I think, again, back to the being involved.
I love that it flows. Who knows what's going to happen next? We might fly people outside the country for a food tour or something.
I think there could easily be other cities on the
Why
radar
not?
for sure.
Yeah.
Have the cultural encounters bus.
And take this on the road.
Take it to 40 all the way to California.
There you go. Wouldn't it be fun
Out
if
through
we
the
could
desert.
do like the entire country and just go to the
I don't know. The more I'm thinking about this, I kind of want to do this.
And we'll break bread
Listen,
all over.
We're
Like,
going to
here,
be in Southwest Arkansas. We're going to bring some Ghanaians,
right? Yeah, that'll be awesome. So we'll see where this goes. But thank you.
Yeah,
Thank you.
of course.
This was
Thank you.
amazing. Yeah.
Fun.
Yeah.